So, hi and welcome to the Academy of Champions Inspirational Icons Series. And our first guest for this series is Mark Anastasi. Mark Anastasi is the New York Times bestseller of the book, The Laptop Millionaire. And I had the pleasure of meeting Mark at the beginning of 2016. And how we got in touch was through a mutual friend, Ellen Bakke, who wrote the wonderful book, Never Work Again. And Mark gave an amazing webinar on one of his tools that he shares with his clients on prosperity power, subliminal programming of the mind. And so after that, I attended Mark's seminar in London, and it was one of the most inspirational events that I've attended in my life. So, Mark, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Adil. I'm well. Thank you for having me here.
So, Mark, firstly, the main things that really inspired me about you, I mean, I was with my father's late friend, Dr. Muhammad Khalid, who passed away in a couple of years ago, tragically in Medina. But I mean, after we left your event, our conclusion was that you're an imam without the beard. So, I mean, the stuff that you talked about spirituality, and I mean, the correspondence that we had about your conclusions about the universe and the laws of spirituality and how it's linked to wealth. I mean, that was completely mind-blowing because I'd never heard that before. I mean, that's the topic for today that I would like us to, touch upon, the spiritual lessons of wealth. So before we begin, Mark, could you just give us a bit of background and few insights on your journey to becoming a millionaire?
Sure. Sure. And by the way, thank you very much for having me on Academy of Champions and for your very kind words. I don't know about the Imam without a beard, but that made me laugh. I mentioned it to my wife the other day when you first shared that with me. And I'm so glad that we're connecting now and that that event, that seminar was meaningful to you, that it gave something to you and to your friend, your late friend. So to go back to your question about the journey, well, some 22 years ago, I found myself fired from my job, and I was already in debt at that point. I was 7,000 pounds in debt in the UK when they fired me from that job. I hadn't paid my rent in a couple of months. And at the end of another month, they kicked me out. I ended up homeless in London. I couldn't go back to my home country because my father was going bankrupt at the time. They had spent their savings to send me to university in England. And here I was living in the UK. I'd worked as a security guard for 2 years, worked in telesales for 14 months. I wasn't thriving. Things were not going well in my life. And now I was homeless, and I would end up being homeless for 6 months. And one day, I'm staying in this abandoned building on Earl's Court Road in London with another 20 or so homeless people. We're squatting this building that they were renovating, or that they were going to renovate. And one day, I'm just running through the streets of London at night. It's pouring down with rain, and I'm soaking wet and I'm cold. I just needed to run to escape from the very, very negative and dark thoughts in my head. And I run into this cemetery. The gates of the cemetery were open, Old Brompton Road Cemetery. And there was no one around. It was late at night. And I run to the end of that cemetery and I kind of collapse amongst those tombstones. And I'm thinking, this is it. I'm in my early 20s. I have no money. I'm in debt. I'm, I'm homeless. I was surviving thanks to credit cards. I had 8 credit cards. I was having showers at the local gym. I signed up to a gym so I could have hot water, hot showers. And I said, this is ridiculous. I can't go on like this. I'm going to end my life. There's nothing to live for. And this little voice whispered in my ear, "What have you given?" I get emotional even now, 22 years later, thinking about this, 23 years later. The And I got angry, like, what have I given? I've got nothing to give. I'm 7 grand in debt. I have no home, no friends, no girlfriend, no relationship, nothing. Nothing, nothing. I literally have nothing. I had my rollerblades and a bag with my clothes. And and I said, I have nothing to give. What do you mean? What have I given? I have nothing to give. And the but that voice like if you can imagine, it felt like infinite kindness and infinite patience. Just whispered again, what have you given? And I realized in that moment that I hadn't given anything of myself. I hadn't given to the world my intellect, my time, my love, my abilities, nothing. And I stood up and I made a vow in that moment. I said, I made I asked God, like, God, help me turn this around. You might say I asked Allah, help me turn this around. But I asked a higher power in any case to help me turn things around. And I made a vow. I will figure out a way to turn things around, and I will devote my life to helping other people do the same. And for the next 2 hours, I remained in that cemetery, giving a talk to those tombstones as if they were as if they were an audience. and uh, and I was saying about, problems are not the end. They're just the gym on which you sculpt your soul, and like, you grow by pushing against tremendous resistance, and this is just a moment of resistance, and I will grow from figuring out how to turn things around, and I will help others, and that was the commitment I made. And I walked back to that abandoned building, that building we were squatting in, and nothing had changed in my external circumstances in that moment, but inside of me, everything had changed. I was just certain, because I was so committed, I would find a way to turn things around. And then I heard of a seminar happening about maybe a mile and a half away, a few days later, a few weeks later, maybe 2, 3 weeks later. And it was £300 to attend that seminar. And obviously, I had no money, but I had on my eighth and final credit card, I thought, you know what? Let's make this last roll of the dice. I'm going to spend this £300. It's the last £300 I have, but I would never spend £300 on attending a seminar. So I realized I must spend £300 on attending a seminar, because if every decision that I'd made until this point brought me to this, clearly I need a very different kind of thinking to take me to a higher level. So I spent the £300. I got that ticket. It was a 4-day seminar. And you can imagine, I was there. I was the first one to be there. I took notes throughout the day. I asked every question possible. I was the last one to leave. I was networking. I didn't tell anybody that I was homeless. I was just, I wanted to get every molecule of information from that event. And one of the key things I learned there is that your invisible world creates your visible world. Your invisible world of your thoughts, your beliefs, your attitudes, your mindset essentially cascades into your choices, decisions, and judgments. Your judgments, choices, and decisions, or rather, judgments, decisions, then choices. And all of that is invisible. When you make in your mind a deal, you make a decision. It's
Mhm.
invisible. People don't see it. You don't even see it, but it's happening. You're making a decision. And
Mhm.
then the conditioning from our parents, which lead to our identity, which leads to our decisions, to our mindset, beliefs, attitudes, which leads to our decisions, choices, uh, um, judgments. All of this is in the invisible, and it cascades into what we can see now, which is our actions and our results. And many people, they're not happy with the results. They're not happy with the relationship, their weight, their health, their financial situation, their career, whatever. They're not happy with how the kids are behaving, the dog is behaving, whatever it is. But they make different actions. I will change city. I will change country. I will change career. I will change relationship, whatever. I will change diet. And a few weeks or months go by, and they get exactly the same result again and again. And it's because they haven't gone upstream to their invisible world, examined their conditioning, examined what is their identity, their beliefs, their mindset, their mind patterns, their beliefs and attitudes. Because when you work at that level, when you identify and eliminate, let's say, limiting beliefs or negative beliefs, toxic emotions, things that hold you back on, on, on any level, unless you work on that level, well, I'll rather say it this way. When you work at that level, on the subconscious level, the actions you take transform and change automatically.
Mm,
And then the results transform. So, for example, what I did when I walked back from that seminar is I did the mental exercises they gave to identify my limiting beliefs about money. And it turned out I had 44 limiting beliefs about money. And I worked over the next 3 days I worked at identifying and eliminating each and every one of those beliefs. So, for example, the mental belief, I can't make money. I don't know how to make money. Well, I brainstormed 100 ways how I could make £2,000 a month. I'd never earned more than £1,000 in a month at that time. So I brainstormed 100 ways how. I wrote down why I can make money, or why I can make a lot of money. I can make a lot of money because other people are making a lot of money and I can learn from them. I know people who make money, a lot of money this way, and this second way, and this third way, and this fourth way. I can make a lot of money because I can learn. I like to learn. I have the capacity to learn. So as long as I learn about money and marketing and business, I will increase my income. I will find myself more valuable and all this. I brainstormed also what do people want? What do people buy? What do people buy a lot of? What do people need? I started asking myself a completely different series of questions. In my programs, I have this section called 46 Questions That Make You Rich. And then I have another 20 plus questions that help business owners increase their company, increase the value of their company, increase their sales, I mean. But these 46 questions that make you rich, I started asking myself some of those questions and it changed the way I was thinking. So by doing this kind of work and then writing down 100 reasons why I must make £2,000, and then I brainstormed 100 ways how to make £2,000. Well, I put into action one of these ideas. I had all the motivation necessary because I had 100 reasons why I should earn £2,000 a month. Because I can help my father who's going bankrupt. I can help my mother who's getting kicked out of her apartment. I can help my sisters who are getting kicked out of school because my father has no money to pay for it. I can help. I can get myself an apartment. I can get myself some food. I can pay off my debt. I can buy clothes. I can go and learn from more seminars. I can start a business. I had lots of reasons why. And with that motivation combined with this new series of questions, new brainstorming that I'd done, I chose one specific business idea and I got myself a mentor. I called up this guy, I said, Francis, I know that you're earning £2,000 a month by selling this product on the internet. Will you be my mentor? I'll work for you for free. I don't have money to give you, but I'll work for you for free. Will be my coach, my mentor. And he said, Mark, you don't have to work for me for free. It's very simple. And he gave me some coaching free of charge. And I just implemented it. 28 days later, I was earning $10,000 a month. I was earning about $330 a day in passive income within 28 days. Actually, on the 28th day, I launched the business. On the next day, I made my first sale. Then the day after that, I made 2 sales. And by the end of the week, I was making 5 sales a day. But it took me 28 days to set up that business. And so I found myself being homeless whilst earning $10,000 a month in passive income. It was a surreal time. And for the next few weeks, I was just floating on air. I was floating about, 3 feet off the ground, some pink cloud it felt, because it was all so surreal. But I say this because you asked me the question about the starting point, but also to highlight the fact that until we do the deep inner work, things just keep manifesting the same results again and again and again.
mm,
And this is one of the reasons why I do what I do and why we set up wealthmagnetics.com, why I recently run the Spiritual Codes of Wealth Summit, an online summit we did, why I've created my Unleash the Millionaire Within program, because people are not aware of this technology. They're not aware of these insights. They're not aware of how they can use personal development, psychological tools combined with spiritual tools as well, spiritual technology, some people call it, to heal themselves on the inside so that all this drama and health issues or financial issues don't show up on the outside.
Hmm.
And I've received hundreds and hundreds of testimonials from people around the world over the last 2 decades, maybe over 1,000, from people who write in and say, I did this process, I did this work, I did this healing on the inside, I identified and eliminated my limiting beliefs, and then miracles started happening.
Amazing.
And so that was a little bit about the start at Deal. I did about $2 million in sales in the first couple of years, thanks to this first online business. We were selling ebooks online. Did about 40,000 sales of that, and then I used funds from that to start my seminar company, and we got another 7,000 customers from live seminars around the world. That did another $10 million in revenue, and that was the starting point for my entrepreneurial career. I had to reprogram myself at a subconscious level. And then, of course, I started using tools to actually program my mind for what I wanted. So the initial step was I had to deprogram myself of all the 44 negative limiting beliefs that I had installed inside of me. But then I did the really cool stuff of implanting in the garden of my mind some new positive, empowering beliefs.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, you've touched upon a number of things that we actually teach in the Academy of Champions. So, I mean, we talk about the four dimensions, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And I often, give the analogy of an ice cube. Like an ice cube is water, the formula is H2O. You give it energy. I mean, it's physical. The ice cube, you give it energy, then it turns into liquid, but it's still H2O. And then you give that energy, it turns into steam, and that's still H2O. And then you give that further energy and you break the hydrogen and oxygen and you can't see them, but they exist. So just like that, the spiritual dimension exists, but it's just that we cannot see it. And some people are able to see it. That's a story for a different day. But alongside that it was interesting, Mark, that you mentioned basically that a voice whispered that you're not giving enough. Now, the thing is there any such thing as giving too much?
I'll tell you that I was pondering on this question, not in this way exactly, but I was pondering on the following question. I've been working with a lot of coaching clients lately. I've coached 600 people one-on-one. I've had 600 coaching clients over the last 2 decades. And we've had 17,000 people attend our seminars. And I mentioned this to say that I've seen a lot of human nature and of human psychology and of what holds people back. And the number one issue that comes up, for example, now I'm coaching people to become speakers, international speakers, how to have a 7-figure a year business, a $1 million a year speaking business. And again, the number one belief that comes up when I talk about these topics is, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Now, if on some level, on whatever level, someone is still going through life like 95%, maybe 97% of the population is. So we are the majority of people going through life thinking we are not good enough or I'm not good enough. Then what happens is that we try to please people. We try too hard, too much. The law of prosperity talks of fair exchange. It's not about taking from people. It's not about giving too much or giving too much for free or something like that. It's about fair exchange. Look, if I give you $4,000 or $5,000 worth of value in grain or cattle or whatever, it's normal for me to exchange $2,000 worth of compensation in one way, shape, or form in exchange. I'm not talking about $50. I'm not talking about I'm giving you 4,000, so give me 10,000. There needs to be fair exchange. And the Book of Wealth by Hubert Bancroft, there was this big study on wealth. It was commissioned by some of the wealthiest families in the world, and he produced this, forget if it's like 8 tomes or 10 tomes, series of books, the Book of Wealth. And what they found in this study, in this work, was that the wealthiest families, the wealthiest cities and nations prospered on the basis of fair exchange. Now, when you feel you're not good enough on some level, that fair exchange goes out of balance. You feel like you got to give more because you feel you're not good enough, or you feel like you don't deserve more, so you ask for less
Mm,
rather than asking for your value. So can you give too much? Absolutely. And I think we all know women and mothers especially
mm-hmm,
who go through life giving way too much to the point where they lose themselves. They don't even know who they are anymore.
mm,
But it applies to men as well,
mm,
because we want to do good. We want to help our community. We want to help our loved ones, our families, etc. But at what cost?
mm.
I've seen many entrepreneurs burn out
Yeah.
and drive themselves to the ground because they're trying too much. And the issue is not what they're doing or what they're not doing. The issue is deeper than that. The issue is, do you actually feel worthy, good enough?
Mm.
So, as a simple exercise that I like to give my clients, this is something that Mark Victor Hansen taught me.
Okay.
And he says, say 50 times a day, I am enough, I have enough, I do enough. I am enough, I have enough, I do enough. 50 times a day. And I must say that a few years ago, I went through doing that around the COVID era, which hit us quite hard because suddenly everything was grounded. You couldn't fly around for seminars, and we I would find myself swimming in the sea and doing 50 times a day. I am more than enough. I have more than enough. I do more than enough. I needed to remind myself and bring that energy back inside of me in a sense. I am more than enough. I have more than, not just I am enough, I have enough, I do enough, but I am more than enough. I have more than enough. I do more than enough. So that's a rather convoluted and long answer to a simple question, but yes,
No, it's
I
amazing.
do feel that people can
And
sometimes give too much. Yeah, absolutely.
and the other concept that that you mentioned that you had 300 pounds in your bank account and you attended the seminar. I mean, the interesting thing is I went through a similar phase where the doctors gave up on me, when my organs were failing, I had heavy metal poisoning, and at that time I had 1,500 pounds in my bank, and I went to Harley Street because the NHS doctors had given up on me. And it was through Harley Street where the last cardiologist consultant said, "We can't do anything for you. You've spent all your money and time on us doctors." He said, "Don't waste any more time and money on us doctors. Go to the allergy testing practitioners." And that journey I can absolutely relate to because that opened the way to bioenergetics, to bioresonance, to learning functional medicine. And now I'm able to heal other people. So I had the exact same, sort of, experience in my life. And I often write that only when you're as good as dead do you truly come to life. I mean, I think that's the universe's way. I mean, in Sufism, we call this concept fana or annihilation, death before death. So, and Rumi mentioned that the light enters where the wound is. So, I mean, essentially, the creator breaks you down and then puts in light to make you, better than you were before. It brings you closer to him. So it's amazing hearing that insight also. Um,
I love what you just said. The light enters through where the wound is.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
I love it. One sentence that always stayed with me is that every adversity carries the seed of equal or greater good. By the way, how great is bioresonance and functional medicine and bioenergetics, energy healing, all of this? My wife and I live, um, we base our whole model of health on that.
Amazing.
And every adversity carries the seed of equal or greater good. I prayed to a higher power to transform my life, to change my life, to bring me more abundance and prosperity, right?
Mm,
And what happened next was I got fired from my job, I got kicked out of my apartment, and I was homeless for 6 months. And you'd think, hold on, this doesn't really sound, Mark, like the divine is looking after you, or your higher power is looking after you. And yet, because of that situation, because of those wounds, it forced me to go to a seminar. It forced me to apply the exercises, do the exercises really well, identify the limiting beliefs, brainstorm 100 reasons why, brainstorm 100 ways how, etc., etc. It forced me then to start a new business whilst I was homeless, and then suddenly I became a speaker. Within a few months, I became a speaker, and I had a story to share with people,
Mm,
and that generated millions and millions of dollars. Now, I could have never tracked a path or charted a path like this. If
mm.
I'd said, I'm in a job, I hate this job, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself homeless, lose my job, blah, 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 so that I get to this other level, right? So I
Yeah,
can make millions of dollars. And yet the divine, God, Allah, higher power, the universe, call it what you will, knew exactly the path that I needed to take to get me to the answer to my prayers. Not only that, but it was beautifully done because I got to help thousands and thousands of people in the process. And
mm,
here you are now, Adil, where you're healing people, you're
mm.
giving them water that transforms them, you're teaching them things, you are a leader and a teacher and a healer, and it's perfect. It's perfect. It might be challenging at times, but it's still, life had a way, God had a way to lead you to where you needed to be.
Exactly.
And yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, it's amazing because another similarity that we both have is that we moved back to our native countries. I mean, that's another commonality, and it's really crazy because I did one of your courses week one of 11/11. Now, I wanted to share my journey regarding that. I mean, when I landed in Pakistan, and I saw the time, it was either 11/11 or I would see repeated digits. So 2222 or 1111, or basically it'd be like 411 or 2233. So, and then I was really shocked. Like, I was like, what's happening here? And then I Googled this and I found out about angel numbers. And then when I would give my seminars and retreats that I would do in Islamabad, a lot of my students would see these digits also. Like they were like, what's happening? These angel numbers. And then I investigated even furthermore, and it was quite surprising. Basically, there is a salutation or a blessing that we send upon Prophet Muhammad. And one of the narrations written that basically angels are sent that will pray for you for 1,000 days. So I was actually reciting that. And although it's a weak narration, I was actually reciting that a lot. And I was noticing these angel numbers. And since I've started this 11/11, I'm noticing that happening again after a long time. So, I'm a firm believer in these angel numbers. What is your experience with this?
I'll tell you because I've been doing and being in the space of personal development for 22 years, and I've never seen anything like this. 1111, so it's called 1111, the divine mindset. It's not my course. I'm a spokesperson for it or an ambassador for it because I did the course and they asked me to speak about it, and I'll gladly do so because of the results that I got from it. So 1111, the divine mindset,
Mm-hmm.
it's a series of 10 recordings that were
Hmm.
done about 10 years ago. They were channeled from the spiritual dimension, from the divine. And they were channeled to this world to help us heal.
Hmm.
And so what it does is you listen to week one of 11/11, and that's free of charge. Week one of the 10 weeks is completely free of charge. And on day one of listening to week one, you're assigned these two spiritual guides, these two angels, if you will, that cleanse your conscious mind and your subconscious mind of issues. Issues like loss of bereavement, loss of someone, some loss of something dear to you, loss of your fortune, perhaps, abandonment. Lots of people suffer from abandonment issues, guilt, regret, shame, fears. Now, fears is a huge one. What holds people back from being who they really meant to be and from doing what they're truly meant to do is fears. Fears of what people think of them. Fears of what will people say. Fear of success. Fear of failure. Fear of not being good enough. All these kinds of fears. Fears of what if, I don't know. Fears. What if I lose my job whilst pursuing this new business? Hundreds and hundreds of different fears. So it heals of all these different issues, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And then in week two, it clears away all the negative moments in your life, sadness, and it completely transforms your energy. In week three, you go into the energy room where the divine is basically infusing you with energy, but also you sit on a bench and you put your hand up like this, and the spirit guide comes and sits next to you and puts his hand in your hand, and you start downloading messages from the divine, like as if you're in a meditation and you're being told, secrets
Mm,
of your life and secrets of your future and secrets of what you're supposed to do next.
mm,
And this is amazing because I'm a left-brain businessman, entrepreneur, and I'm there in week three of 1111, and I'm receiving these downloads. I filled out 2 pages in my workbook, my notebook of what was being said to me, and it
mm,
just blew my mind. So I'll give you an example of one little thing that was said to me. So a few years ago, I had $500,000 in my bank account, and the next day it was gone. Okay, it was a bail-in. I won't go into the details of it, but basically that the country in which that account was in just took 5,000 depositors' money, put it into the central bank of their country, and basically there were 2 billion euros that were just wiped out overnight. And I felt a lot of guilt and regret and shame even about this. I had to fire my staff at the time, and it wasn't a pleasant time. And I'm there sitting. I just finished doing 1111 in just a few months ago, maybe 4 months ago. Okay, and so I'm doing 1111, and I'm sitting on this park bench in this visualization, and the spirit guide puts his hand in my hand, and he tells me, Mark, you didn't do this. It wasn't your fault what happened. We did this. We did this, Mark, because you were too attached to that money, and your soul needed to be elevated and purified. And he then said, you thought, Mark, that the difficult times, these challenges, that was a test. And yes, it was a test, but we were there the whole time taking care of you. You're fine. You were fine. Look, you survived it. You're fine. We were taking care of you, making sure you were okay. But know this, when the big money comes, that will also be your test. Make sure you keep your feet firmly on the ground. People think that, oh, I would love to receive a big fortune right now. Or would you? Do you know what that really means, receiving that large fortune? Do you know what it means, what it will do to your mind, what it will do to your ego, what it will do to some aspects of your personality, maybe cockiness, maybe being too authoritarian or too I've seen people where large amounts of money come into their lives and they transform it. It changes them for the worse. So anyway, the point is, I'm doing 1111. I was doing 1111, and I started receiving all these messages, 2 pages full of messages like this. And and the biggest thing it did for me was this. In week five, you go into the machine room, it's called, and you blast shut the door of the past, and you blast shut the door of the future, and you pour this divine love energy into the door of the present and the door of faith. Okay, so get rid of the past. The past is gone. Get rid of the future because the divine is looking after the future. You don't have to worry about the future. You just need to be present today, right now. Listen into what messages you have about how you're meant to serve today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow is taken care of. Just do your work today with faith. Be present today with faith. And that transformed my mindset ideal because before I would work for today, but I would be thinking about, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I wasn't fully present.
mm,
And when I did this work, it transformed the relationship with my daughters as well. For some reason, me being more in the present, loving energy in the present, and more calmer, I guess, shifted my frequency and my relation. My children started coming to me and giving me more affection, more love, because they felt that shift inside of me. I mean, I could go on about 1111 for a long time, but I'll say this. Just like I said, you have to clear your negative beliefs, limiting beliefs, toxic emotions, in 22 years in this space, I've never seen anything do this like 1111 does it.
Amazing.
So yeah, I highly recommend it. I'm glad that you're getting good results from it, or that it impacts you in some way, and that you're interested in this. That tells me that you are very connected, that you have a intuition for this. Not everyone gets the power of what this is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's about, I mean, one of my homeopathic friends in Manchester, he was called Joshua Enkins. He would often say, why do you have insight like the average person doesn't? And all I would answer him is that I've suffered so much throughout my life that I'm being able to, it's like you see things from a different lens. It's a different perspective that's formed. And I think suffering is a blessing in disguise. I think it opens up faculties within a human being that are not unlocked unless you suffered. So, I mean, there was a great saint by in Al-Andalus, so south of Spain. He was called Ibn Arabi, and he said that if pain wasn't one of the greatest blessings, then the Creator Allah wouldn't have tested all the prophets. So all the prophets were tested through pain and suffering, and that's a blessing in disguise. So, and I realize this, the more spiritually aligned I become, I see these repeating digits. And first it was scary because it was like, what's going on? But then when you understand what's happening, and the other interesting thing that I've actually realized is the more people that I know that see these repeated digits, it's usually when they've lost a loved one in their life and they're lonely. It's as though that these messages are signals telling them that, look, we're with you. They're actually signals. That's what I've realized. I was speaking to a good friend of mine from Germany, and she said to me the exact same thing. Her father passed away last year. And since last year, she's been seeing these repeated digits. And I was telling her this is just an indication of your father saying that we are with you, just or the angels are with you, or the creator's with you. So this is my interesting finding.
That's exactly how we understand it too, that 11 colon 11, 1111 represents kind of the balance and perfection of the divine mind of this creation that we find ourselves in. And that when you see it, I mean, whenever my children, my wife, or I see those numbers, we say, oh, 1111, God is with us, because it is for us, it's a sign that hey, everything is okay. There's a much higher power that is orchestrating things and looking after us, which brings me to a point that I'd like to share.
Yeah.
I tell my clients that you were born rich, you are born rich, and that there are laws in this universe that make it so that you can be rich. For example, one of the natural laws of this universe is ask and it is given. Ask and it is given. And I really believe in this. So you ask, you pray. There is this sentence. I'm not sure if it's a sentence that goes. How does it go again? Basically, um, whatever you ask for, believing that you already have it without any inner doubt, will come about. Something to that effect.
Mhm.
Whatever you ask for, believing that you already have it, like you're grateful. Thank you. Thank you for my wonderful abundance. Okay. Without any inner doubt, that is what will come about. Ask and it will given. Visualize very precisely what you want with feeling, and somehow the universe will bring it to you. The challenge in that is that little sentence, without any inner doubt. Because most people have so much inner doubt. So, for example, they'll say, let's say a woman who's 45 years old says to me, Mark, I want to be in a beautiful, loving relationship, like a coaching client of mine. I mean, I want to be in a beautiful, loving relationship with a man. Why is this not happening? I have a great career, I have money, I have this, but I don't have the relationship. Why? And when I do a little bit of digging with the tools that I have for coaching, etc., we find that she has more than 40 or 50 limiting beliefs about men, about relationships, about marriage, about having children,
Mm.
about how her mother wasn't happy in her marriage. So she decided as a little girl, this coaching client of mine decided she never wants to be unhappy like her mother, so she will never be in a marriage like her mother was, as an example, right? So people constantly say, they consciously think, I want this, but subconsciously, it's a whole other situation. 22 years ago, I was saying, I want more money. But subconsciously, I had 44 limiting beliefs about money, rich people, business, marketing. I hated all of that stuff.
Mm.
So the point I'm making is that our spiritual teachers have given us these insights around spiritual laws of success, spiritual laws of abundance. But but we ourselves have to be clear about exactly what we want, and we have to eliminate that negativity, those limiting beliefs. And again, it's another reason why I'm so excited about these personal development tools. I'm so excited about 1111. I've coached 600 people one on one, and now, thanks to 1111, I can give people a tool which can heal them so deep inside of them, transform their vibrational frequency, heal them from within, build them up from the core, fix them at the core and build them up from the ground up. And then I can give them some great tools to reprogram their mind. But the point I'm making is this: I share with people that we live in a world of ask and it is given. You want to be wealthy, you want to have abundance, learn these little tools of how to apply ask and it is given.
Mm.
Learn that you are already wealthy, but you have to eliminate all those things that are holding you back. And people often don't want to do this, Adil. People don't want to go deep down inside of themselves and do the work. But
Yeah.
when they do, the whole world opens up to them.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, the last couple of things that I just wanted to touch upon was when we met in 2016. I remember the last thing that you mentioned in the seminar was the end times and prophecies. And that was really fascinating. I mean, you just blew me away because, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you talked about, I mean, I emailed you even the narrations and all the texts that were linked as from Islamic perspective to what you were saying. I mean, things such as that God is light, and when you break down particles, you see that it's basically in Arabic is called nur, so light. And then you talked about water having memory, Dr. Masuro Emoto's research. And then you talked about how the particles diluted from the spiritual dimension to the physical dimension, how the frequencies diluted. And I gave you the book, which was the biography of Prophet Muhammad, and that chapter, which described exactly what you had said in that biography. It was just mind blowing. And the craziest thing that you mentioned was that, well, your friend Glenn, I mean, he was, as what would you call Glenn? Is he a psychic or a gifted channeler or
Yeah, I would say he's one of the most gifted spiritual channelers on the planet.
amazing?
Like, that governments and military organizations would love to have him work for them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, good spiritual channel.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, you mentioned like most of the things that have unfolded, you actually mentioned in 2016, which is crazy. I mean, you had the insight of that, and you basically mentioned that there'll be an economic collapse and World War III, and then Albert Pike's, things that you shared, and then Islam would rise, and that's what got me thinking, how is this all going to happen in such a short period of time? But it goes to show you that the spiritual dimension is something that's very neglected. I mean, it's something that people, especially the education system, I mean, education system does not believe that there is such thing as a spiritual dimension. I mean, we're brainwashed to think that we were just apes. I think you touched on that as well. So Darwin's theory. So the thing is, how have you gone from being, so were you an atheist to begin with? What are you at this moment? What are your beliefs? And what are your beliefs about the end time prophecies, the more you've investigated it?
So I was an atheist till I was about 23 years old.
Okay.
I grew up with no religion, no spirituality. My father was a journalist. If you didn't hear it on BBC or BBC News or CNN, it didn't exist. He had the news on like 18 hours a day in the background, two or three television sets throughout the house. And like I said, if it wasn't on the BBC News, it just didn't exist.
Mhm.
And he was fervently anti-religious. In fact,
Okay.
he thought that the that the Christian church was responsible for wars, for the Crusades, for killings, and so he didn't like religion in general. And so I grew up like that. And my idea was I would go to university, I would learn business studies, business management, I would get into management and hopefully have a better life than my parents did by being a manager somewhere at some company, climb up the corporate ladder. But when I was 23 and I had this experience of this little voice saying to me, like speaking to me, what have you given? Because it wasn't coming from me. It wasn't coming even from my subconscious, my brain. It was something outside of me, but inside of me. And I had a few other experiences like that. But also I started learning about quantum mechanics and how these physicists were essentially saying the same thing as what spiritual teachers had said for millennia. The physicists were saying, like, everything you see around you is not real.
Mm.
It's just a pattern of energy. It's just a singular energy wave. And there's no physical reality to our physical reality. They were that opened my mind. But what made me really interested in this topic of spirituality was near-death experiences. People talking about how they had died and they were clinically dead for 5 minutes, 6, 7, 8 minutes, and they saw their soul come out of their body, go to the spiritual dimension, go to the light, and have these interactions, these conversations, etc. And then they were brought back into the body. And now they had insight. Now they had seen things. They had heard things. They knew things that they could not possibly know. So all of that got me started around 23, 24 years old about this. Now, about end times and prophecies, I'm fascinated with prophecies. I wrote a book I collected all these different prophecies and wrote a book about it. And I'm fascinated about it. And in our world today, we are seeing a lot of these things happen. They're happening. But I don't want to talk about it too much because it can be negative, it can be dark, it can be a bit scary, and also the future is not set.
Mm.
A prophecy sees a vision of the future, but that vision of the future that might be on a different timeline. The timelines may have shifted, so it doesn't mean just because a visionary or spiritual person, psychic person, what have you, has seen it, that it's going to be exactly like that because things might have changed. Even the fact that we are aware of that prophecy already starts changing it. So um, I'm hoping that we will avoid
Mm.
the darker aspects of that prophecy.
Yeah.
For example, a third world war, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail. And what is important for us on an individual basis is to focus on what's good, what we're grateful for, to focus on adding value, giving love and yeah, giving something valuable to people.
Mm.
So I don't want to spend too
Yeah.
much time on
Yeah. No.
prophecies, but I will say, um, yeah, I think each individual person should be focusing more on making sure that they're living their life according to positive spiritual teachings, kindness, love, benevolence. We're seeing that the fastest growing businesses, they are mission driven. They
Mm.
have a benevolent mission behind them. So
Mm.
do this, start a business where you're putting in a lot of your heart in it because you
Mm.
want to make a difference in people's lives. That I think is a better use of one's time than to focus too much on the negative prophecies that are out there.
Agreed, 100%, 100% agreed. Anyway, thank you, Mark, for your time, your precious time. And last thing I would just want is, could you give 5 tips to aspiring young social entrepreneurs that, you just mentioned giving out from your heart. What would be 5 key lessons that you've learned in your life that you would wish to impart to the next generation?
Great. Well, the first thing I'll say, as an entrepreneur in general, start with the end in mind and really be very clear about exactly what you want to create, what you want to manifest, and visualize. The power of visualization is tremendous for putting things in order in in first the divine space and then our physical reality. So visualize your end result, exactly what you want to manifest. The next thing I'll say is, one tool. There's a little visualization that I like to do. It's called 68 seconds of pure thought. Okay, it's a little exercise, and every day for 68 seconds, put a timer in front of you and just do it for 68 seconds. Just jump up and down, excited. You could say, for example, you could say, joy, riches, success. Joy, riches, success. For 68 seconds, whilst you're visualizing, excited and happy and grateful, you're visualizing exactly the outcome you want without allowing any negative thought to enter your mind. So for 68 seconds, just visualize exactly what you want with feeling, not allowing any negativity to come into your mind. Just do that for 68 seconds. There is tremendous energy that you are unleashing and aligning by doing that for 68 seconds. This is an exercise from Abraham Hicks, again, some channeled information, and it works for a number of reasons. This is one of the three things that are the closest thing to magic I've ever seen. The other one is 1111. The third one is something else, but you will be doing incredible things by applying this. The next thing I can say to social entrepreneurs who are starting out, you have to master marketing. There's no way about it, just master marketing. And nowadays, really it comes down to building an audience and monetizing your audience. Build an audience and monetize your audience. We did $10 million in revenue at Inspired Seminars by simply giving content away for free to build an audience. Okay, whether you're building a social media audience or you're building a email list audience, YouTube followers, YouTube subscribers, give content away for free, build an audience. Maybe your audience can even tell you what they want in your product, offer, service, product, etc. Program, course. Then, so that's important to learn marketing and discover how to build an audience. What else can I say? You become who you spend time with. So change your peer group. This was something that, it sounds harsh, but I had to do it. When I started out, I had to let go of the people. Sorry, I'm back.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
So I
uh,
was just saying,
yeah.
change your peer group. Surround yourself with the kind of people, the kind of entrepreneurs that you'd like to become.
Mhm.
This is important. And finally, get yourself a mentor. Get yourself a coach or a mentor. Whenever I went into any business, whether it was selling products online, I got myself a mentor. When it was about becoming a speaker, I got a mentor. When it came to publishing my book and having it be a New York Times bestseller and a Wall Street Journal bestseller, I got a mentor and coach. Every business I've gone into, you have to have someone, a mentor, a coach. I've always found there's been times when I've tried to do it by myself, and my results were always limited to my level of thinking in
Hmm.
that space.
Yeah,
You can't really solve your problems with your level of thinking. You need a higher level of consciousness or thinking to break through or break free from the situation that your best thinking has got you to exactly where you are today.
exactly.
This is why you need a different peer group and a different mentor or coach to get you to the next level. Those are just a few tips, Adil, I'd give to these entrepreneurs. I'd have 100 more to give them.
I'm sure.
Um, yeah.
So, Mark, how can people follow you? Do you have any platforms that you've set up recently? YouTube? I know you're away for a while. I think you took a break or something. But
I'm not on social media necessarily, but I will do something on Instagram at some point. I'm through wealthmagnetics.com, Wealth Magnetics, or my website, mark-anastasi.com. You can get in touch with me there. Mark-Anastasi or wealthmagnetics.com. Our new website is spiritualcodesofwealth.com. But yeah, on wealthmagnetics.com and on mark-anastasi.com, those are great ways to get in touch and to see the latest things that we're doing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mark, for your time. Take care. Stay blessed. See you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Adil. We'll
Thank you,
speak
Mark.
soon. Take care.
See you. Bye.